This is Triggered.
And you will be.
Well, well, well.
Look who we have here.
Fancy
It's you,
meeting you in a
Tal.
place like this. Hello, everyone. I hope that you're having a lovely summer.
Oh,
I can't believe how fast it's going.
it's flying by.
Yeah.
It is
So,
flying.
a couple things I want to touch on quickly because I know that you're telling me a case that's going to ruin my whole day.
Mm-hmm.
So, before you do that, first of all, anyone affected by these wildfires, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Guys, it's
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah. My heart really breaks for everyone that's been affected. Um, the there's nothing to say. Like it's
No.
awful. It's an awful thing to experience. All I can say is listen to if you're being evacuated, evacuate, please. I know it's stressful and you're like, where are we going to sleep? Where are we going to go? Just just try to get away as best you can. Yeah. So anyway, I hope you guys are staying safe. We love you. Do your thing. Okay. Next item on the agenda. We are overhauling the way we do things, and some fun things are coming. And the first fun thing that's coming is we are now taking two things. We're taking listener tales. We're going to have a segment once a month called After Hours with Triggered, and it's all your stories. So these are stories that something that's happened to you, and it doesn't have to be true crime. It can literally be something weird that happened to you that you can't explain. I am praying to the gods in heaven that we get some Appalachia tales. Please,
Like,
please
Appalachia, please come to us.
send us your stories.
Mhm.
And once we have enough of them, we're going to do our first one. So look out for that.
Mhm.
The second thing that we're doing that is new is we have a free Discord. And I know Discord might sound scary for those of us who are not necessarily techie inclined. We have a Ty and we have a Mandy who will help you figure it out, because in our Discord chat, we have a new thing where you get to suggest a case to us. And we would love this because as much as Ash and I started this podcast because we wanted to bring the true crime tales and stories to you that have impacted us, we want to know what has impacted you, because there are so many cases out there that we've never even heard of.
So many.
So check out our Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Mandy and Ty will help you, I promise.
They help us.
They help us literally every day. We don't know what we're doing. You can find the link on our social media. I'm also going to put it on our website, which just had a redesign. So go check us out. Triggeredthepodcast.com.
You got
All right.
it.
That's my.
So funny enough, this morning, before I get into this insane story, Chantel and I were talking about complimenting your partner and how important that is. Last night, and this was such a married moment for me because
Boy.
we're on the couch and I don't even know what we were talking about, but my husband's like, you have a good butthole.
Ashley.
Guys, compliment my eyes, compliment my hair. Maybe not right now because the grays are graying. But I looked at this man and I was like, is this what the marriage has come to?
Like, however many years in we're at this.
That's what you found to compliment me on. And I just looked at him. I'm just curious. Does anyone have a partner that compliments them on the weirdest thing? Because To me, that was so weird. I was like, oh,
That is
thank
like, I mean,
you.
a compliment nonetheless.
I mean, fair. So
Maybe you need to just take it and run with it.
I know. And I was like, how do you run with that? There's nowhere to
You just
go.
say, "Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you so
sir.
much."
I'm glad I have an attribute that's going to help me in this world.
Yeah, honestly, it's like, you know what's never going to benefit me in any way, shape, or form? That.
Right? So I was just sitting there and I'm like, am I the only one that's married to a weird person? Like,
No, my whole relationship is weird, but in the best way. But we're
I
we're
know.
we're weird.
We're weird. Yeah. So, anyways, I thought that was weird. And we're
Yeah, well,
unedited, uncut. We don't.
good for you.
Thank you.
I've never heard this compliment, which only leads me to believe the worst possible scenario. But we'll leave that at that.
If that's all I have, girl, everyone has to know about it. If that's my only shining thing, I'll take it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean,
So,
we'll take it.
this story is still ongoing and
Okay.
it's very new. I don't know if you guys have heard it, but it is diabolical, it is insane, it is gross, and it's everything that we stand for. So,
All right. I mean, why not?
I want to start by setting a scene because this is a very important part of what kind of brings everything to light. So in February 2025, a 16-year-old girl sat down with someone she trusted at a youth academy in New Mexico and said 4 words that would end years of silence. She said, "It's happening to us." Now, this girl was not in a courtroom. There were no cameras, no flashing lights, just a teenager finally choosing to be heard. But there was no big lead up to this, just
Okay.
this is what's going on. Now, guys, what came next was one of the most disturbing child abuse cases New Mexico has seen in years.
Always with the kids, eh?
Yeah. 8 children, a rural property outside Deming, and allegations that would take investigators, prosecutors, and an entire community months to just process what they were learning. This is that story, you guys. Like, not the sensational version. I did not make this sensational. This is the real story because what actually happened here does not need embellishments. It does not need dramatization. It needs to be told carefully and it needs to be heard. Okay. So there is a lot out there on this, a lot of false information. And like when I was doing research on this and I was pulling up articles, I was like kind of grossed out because of the way they
Mm,
were sensationalizing it. And I was like,
yeah.
you don't need to do that.
No, and we see this so often when we're doing research for these cases where it's like the internet gets a hold of it and just runs in every direction with no thought to the victims or the people that it's impacted. And that's the thing that I think we all need to be very careful of, especially because we are the true crime community and we are in the Reddit threads, we are having these conversations on social media. You have to remember always that just because you're behind a keyboard doesn't mean you can just say or do whatever you want. That especially online, you don't know who's gonna see that. You
Right.
think that you live in the middle of nowhere in Canada or in the UK and no one's ever gonna like, a case from Tennessee is not going to what you say online will not affect someone, but it will.
Mm-hmm.
Ash, how many times have we put out an episode and we've had the victims' families reach out to us now? It's always been positive,
Yeah. Yeah.
thankfully, but you just never know.
You
You
just
never know.
don't know.
Mhm.
So let's start with how this came to light because that part matters as much as anything else in this story. So the
Okay.
girl who spoke up was at the New Mexico National Guard Youth Challenge
Okay.
Academy.
Okay.
It's a program designed to help teens finish their education and build a path forward.
All right.
Okay, so I know right now we have a lot of information coming out about these programs. There's documentaries coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say it's not one of those situations. This isn't one of those
Good.
places that is abusing kids
Yeah. We
because,
only ever hear about the bad ones, but
yeah,
there are so many good ones.
yeah.
Hmm.
So it was there away from the property near Deming that she found the distance and safety to say what she had been carrying. She told authorities she had been sexually abused by her father for approximately 4 years. She also described being forced into acts involving her siblings while adults watched.
Oh, Ash. Oh, God. Okay. Okay.
I want to be direct about something. I'm not going to dwell on the specifics of the abuse beyond what's necessary because these are real children. Some of them are still minors. But the point of telling this story isn't to relive that trauma, it's to understand what happened, how it was missed, and what it took for all this abuse to finally stop.
Another thing that I just like as an aside, there's a lot of people who say like, "Oh my God, how could you talk about, the trauma that these people or these children went through? Like, just leave it alone." When someone experiences abuse or a crime against them, there is this thing where, yeah, you don't want to talk about it, but at the same time, you do want people to recognize what you went through, and you do want to tell people your story, because otherwise it becomes this like taboo thing, and that somehow makes it worse. When people are like, "Oh my God, it's too terrible to talk about." Can you imagine how that must make the person
Hmm.
feel that, those crimes were committed against? Awful.
It's disgusting and horrible.
Mhm.
And no, we are not turning our backs away from things that make us
No.
uncomfortable. That is not who we
No.
are.
No.
So once she did speak and say, "Hey, this is happening," Youth and Family Department of Children's Services moved very quickly.
Good.
What investigators found when they followed up on her accounts was a 35-acre property that law enforcement would later describe as resembling a city trash landfill.
Ew.
I mean, garbage, broken down vehicles, buckets of human waste. And
Ew.
beyond that, something investigators called inhumane. There were semi underground pits, 4 to 6 feet deep, where mattresses had been placed directly in the dirt. This is where police say the children were sleeping year round,
What?
exposed to New Mexico's summer heat and winter cold. That is where those kids were staying. The
Like
mattress.
mattresses
Yeah.
in the ground.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, that's the episode. Welcome to your horror for the day.
Yeah, like this
Wow.
is real
Okay.
shit. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
we're talking about 8 children that lived on this property, ranging in age from 6 months old to 16 years old.
What is wrong with people?
Yeah. So
Ugh.
I pulled so much out of this case, and I'm going to describe this plainly rather than dramatically because the
Okay.
facts here don't need any help.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
These were documented conditions, not implied, not exaggerated. New Mexico State Police described the scene themselves as inhumane and squalid. Neighbors, when later asked, mostly said some versions of the same thing. The family seemed normal, tight knit, a little private, maybe, but nothing that raised alarm. Now, a few admitted after the fact that they noticed odd things.
Okay. So this brings up a conversation that I feel
Hmm.
like we have often. But what do you do? Like, really? Because we can sit here in our studios in Ontario and we can say, "Oh my god, why did nobody call?" But it's like, put yourself in the shoes of a neighbor who
Yeah.
notices some weird shit, but has no proof of anything.
Right.
Has literally, like, 9 times out of 10, it's like a feeling.
Mm-hmm. And
So what
and
do you do?
the things they spotted were structures in the backyard that just didn't seem right. But like
Yeah.
if you go
What are
to
you
like a
gonna
rural place, you're like, that's fucking weird. That's a weird
Right?
thing to have. Now, I will say some of them did notice children outside in freezing weather. But they didn't
Okay.
really think much of it at the time. But that detail is worth sitting with because it's going to come back later.
Okay,
So
okay.
sit with that. We'll come back
Yeah.
to it. Okay. Melvin and Valerie Cordell were arrested and charged with an extensive list of offenses, including child abuse, sexual assault, and criminal sexual penetration of a minor, among other accounts.
Well, that's disgusting.
A third adult connected to the household also faced charges. Both parents were held without bond, but early May 2025, both had entered not guilty pleas.
Okay.
Now, that's a standard part of the legal process, and we know that. It doesn't
Sure.
mean the allegations are in doubt because they were like, okay, sure. Like, you have a right to plead whatever the fuck you want.
Sure.
But it does mean that the case now moves into a slower, more
Mhm.
procedural phase. And evidence has to be reviewed, and eventually it
Yeah.
goes that far and then a trial. But, like, of course, they were pleading not guilty.
In cases like this, though, I'm like, "Are you stupid?" We literally have your house of horrors now that we can dissect. Like
Right. Right?
yeah.
Now, for cases like these, prosecutors will need to build their case. So it's going to take a lot of time. They have to
Mhm.
build it around forensic evidence, medical records, and testimony, including likely testimonies from the children themselves, which raises a whole other situation because a lot of kids need that additional support. Now, you're not just going to throw a kid on a stand. You've got kids, babies up until 16-year-olds. So this will have to be handled with such care for these
Mm.
babies
Yeah.
that it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
So, this is the part of the story that I think deserves the most attention. Not the shock value of the property, but the years that passed before anyone intervened. New Mexico's child welfare system has faced well documented strain. Shortages of foster placements, high casework turnover, and gaps in follow ups. It's a really broken system. It is, these people are short staffed. There isn't enough places to put a lot of these kids. It's a failing system all around, unfortunately, and it's
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is.
Now, advocates have pointed to this case as one example of a broader national pattern where the system meant to catch situations like this. Um, Everything is too stretched too thin, and basically it's not consistent enough. So these things are falling through the cracks. And this isn't the first story that's come out of New Mexico of severe child abuse, but there just isn't enough resources. And it's so I'm not blaming
No.
anybody. And I just want to make
No.
that clear as we go through because it wasn't only just a system failure, it was also neighbors who noticed those small things and talked themselves out of concern.
Yeah, exactly, and we see this all the time. We see this all the time
Yes.
because the thing is, and even I've found myself in situations, many situations, where you see something and you think, "Huh, that's really weird," but
Yeah.
who are you gonna call?
Right.
You gonna call the sheriff and be like, "Hey, I have a weird feeling?"
I mean, I think this community, understandably, didn't want to believe something like this was happening nearby.
Of course not. And we say this all the time. That's not where your mind goes. I mean, it's where my mind goes constantly, but that's not where your mind goes. Like yesterday, I was driving and there was maybe she was 7 or 8 years old on a bike on the sidewalk. And there was a car driving like slowly next to her. And I slowed down because I was like, if there's some creepy man in this car, I, I, I need to get out.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
her mom. It was her mom who was clearly like, "I'm not walking
Okay.
behind you. I'm just gonna just gonna be in the car next to you." Which is great, but 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 again, like, even in a situation like that, what was I gonna do? Matt would not be happy with me if
No.
I had to call him and be like, "I'm standing on the side of the road with a child, called the police because I don't like the way he was stalking her." Like, what do you
Right.
do? What do you do?
So, without getting into too much, um, these children, as young as babies, were being sexually assaulted in ways an adult couldn't handle. They were being withheld food. They were tied up. They were forced to hurt each other. They were trying to find the right words, being forced into relations with each other that will haunt them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Mm.
And I went down a Reddit hole on this case. And as of right now, these children they're all in protective custody, receiving medical and psychological care because recovery from this kind of prolonged neglect and abuse is not something that happens quickly. And it's not something that will end when these children are placed somewhere safe. Because what I'm finding now with reading, as much information as I can without getting into too much detail is some of these older children are going to remember the acts that were forced upon them with their younger siblings.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is something that I think we get wrong, and we all get wrong. Society gets wrong. We have this idea that murder is the worst possible crime. When we cover cases like what you're talking about today, I challenge that in my own soul because I think, yes, murder is bad. Okay. And please, any families, victims that are listening, I'm not saying that what happened to your family member is not horrific. But we also think, these stories come out in the news and we see them in media and it's like, oh, all this stuff for a few weeks or a few months or even a few years. But what we don't understand, we assume, oh my God, thank God those kids are out of that situation. Their battle has only just begun. Only just begun. This is a lifelong crime. This is a crime that is committed to these kids every waking moment of every day, probably for the rest of their lives. And we have to remember that. It doesn't end when they get rescued.
Well, and this is it. Like, we haven't even gotten into the trial for this case because it
Yeah,
hasn't
yeah.
started.
Mhm.
But part of this story for me is once these children have been, deeply, deeply helped with psychological help, emotional help, physical help, what will this look like for them? Because now I'm treading very lightly with what I'm about to say, but I think
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
important to note hurt people hurt people.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
while my hope is that these babies, these children realize they did nothing wrong. They are the
Nothing.
victim. This is not a case of, well, you were an older sibling, you should have known
Nope.
better. This is
Nope.
not at
Mm-mm.
all what, I'm pointing at. But the reality of the situation that we're watching play out right now in real time is there is a chance, and I am not victim blaming, that some of these victims could grow up to now be perpetrators.
Absolutely. A absolutely. And like you said, we're not
No.
we're not saying that's gonna happen. We hope that every single one of these kids gets help
Yeah.
and is able to build some kind of life
Yeah.
for themselves where they do from time to time feel peace.
I
I
know.
hope
And
that.
they
I
get
hope that so much.
all I want is for these babies to feel the love that they deserve because
Yeah.
they are loved and they deserve to feel that love because every single
Yeah.
one of these kids is beautiful and innocent and amazing.
Mhm.
My battle online as I was reading these threads and I
Mhm.
took it into a psychological point of view is we are looking at a lifetime of struggle for these little ones.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
younger ones, there's a better chance that they're going to overcome a lot of the heinous acts that happen to them because our memories and our psyche can, protect us from that. But what about these older ones?
Mhm. Yeah.
I think about these kids and my heart breaks. I want to take them all in. I just want to be
I
like, I've got
know.
you. I will love you. I will
I
protect
know.
you. And that is the scary thing. And then
Yeah.
another key point I want to make before I kind of get into where we are, this very well could be setting these kids up later on to become victims again.
Of course. Of course.
Because
What a rough start.
what a rough start. And so the abuse cycle doesn't end with what they've experienced. The abuse cycle for a lot of these kids that get put into foster homes, things like this, is we don't know what their future holds. And I'm saying this because my hope is that all foster parents, all families that go into the system to help are good, but we know that's not the story here.
I know. I know. Oh, it
So
seems so bleak.
it's, and this story is bleak. There,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're like, oh, good, they were rescued. And you can, it's all over the news. And that's as far as we know on this case right now. The kids have
Yeah.
been apprehended. The kids are gone into, professional settings where they are receiving the care. And obviously, our intent of bringing this to light because we are going to follow this case. This case will be an ongoing thing. And our hope is as information comes out, I'm going to continue to update, but it could be literal years
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
while these fucking monsters, because they're not prosecuted yet, are going to live comfortably while these poor babies are going through trauma therapy, healing. They're all displaced. They don't know, half of them aren't going to know what is going on, who to trust. Their
Yeah.
entire world that they ever knew, they now are being told you were abused. And some
Yeah.
of them
Yeah.
might not have realized that there was a safe world outside of what they grew up in.
No, the younger ones, it sounds like that's all they've ever known. That's what they thought life was.
And now keep in mind, we aren't even looking at w- Stockholm syndrome.
Listen, there's gonna be
It's going to be bigger than what, we can ever imagine because
my
those
heart.
are the parents you've only ever known.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
while obviously these pieces of shit should never be allowed around children ever again, those kids are probably feeling the loss of having their parents.
Of course. That's all they've ever known. They thought that was some of them, they thought that was normal.
Yep. That
They
was how
thought
you
that was
show
love.
love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm. Oh, this is so sad, Ash.
And there is temptation in these stories. There's temptation to go in and give the nitty gritty details because true
Yeah.
crime lovers, we want that. We crave
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But because we are in the middle of this case and more
Mhm.
information will come out about what happened and maybe we will get into more details at that time.
Yeah.
But right now, I want your eyes on this case. I want everyone to keep your eyes on this case. I want you guys to really sit with the fact that we have chosen not to get into the nitty-gritty of this case for a reason.
Yeah, and I think it's so important, and I'm actually so glad that you chose to do this case, because when everything came out with the Siders family, the Ohio House of Horrors, all this stuff, there's this sense of like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this happens." And yet again, you're covering a situation where it happened again. Very similar. And it's this is happening. This isn't a one-time Siders family horrors. This is happening in every state, in every
Mm.
country, across the world. And we have to start understanding that this happens in our communities. This is not a one and done. This is not like a random, far away thing. We have to start understanding that these things are happening all around us. And maybe we open our eyes a little bit more. Maybe we do call somebody when we see something that just doesn't feel right. Even if
Mhm.
you feel stupid, maybe all it takes is look at the Sider family, right?
Mhm.
A sheriff showed up for a completely unrelated thing and
Mhm.
found all these kids. So,
So, right now, we are awaiting trial dates. We are going to follow this very closely. It's very new. The evidence is still being gathered. Prosecutors are still working day and night to get this case because these motherfuckers need to be locked up for the rest of their life. And they can't fumble this case.
no, no. And
So, I know this was a short one. This isn't our usual storytelling,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I didn't want to let this one go. It was
Mhm.
too much information to throw as like a beginning. So I thought, you know what? Let's pop in. Let's talk about this. And I want to know what our listeners are feeling about this. Um, would you have preferred we cover a different type of case, or are you happy that we're popping in with these less, you know?
Here's the thing. We understand, we're not delusional in understanding that this is entertainment.
Mhm,
We're not. We get it. We understand that this platform, podcasts are for information, but also for entertainment.
mhm,
And we understand that. And a lot of times, and I don't know about you, Ash, but when I'm looking for cases and I find one similar to this one, where I'm like, "Oh, there's just not enough, like, we don't have enough details, it's not gonna be juicy enough." But Ashley and I are learning over this journey of having this podcast that it's not always about the juicy cases. It's not. And imagine being a victim
mhm.
and your story not being told because it wasn't entertaining enough.
This is right.
And so as much as we come on here and we do tell the juicy stories and we do tell the, "Oh my god, I can't believe that happened" stories. At the same time, I think it's really important that we continue coming on and telling the stories like this, where it's like
Mhm,
we don't have a whole ton of information yet, but you, the listener, wherever you are in this world, need to know about this family, need to know about these kids, need to follow the case because there is power in numbers.
absolutely.
So if no one is watching this case and no one's paying attention, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But if there's pressure, if there's public pressure, if it's being shared online, if it's being listened to, if people in that state are contacting their representatives and saying,
Mhm,
"How on earth is this happening? What are you going to do to prevent this from happening in the future?" That's where the power is.
mhm.
So it's not juicy. It's not salacious. You're not walking away from this going like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that happened."
That's right.
You're walking away with a broken heart. And sometimes that's the fuel that's needed to hold people accountable, to hold governments accountable, to hold where whatever failed here, because somewhere in the system, something failed. This is how we hold them to account. This is the only
What
way.
what when I was reading this, I'm like, how am I going to tell this story with such little information? But the fact of the matter is, there were adults that have not been named, not been prosecuted, not been arrested, watching this happen.
This brings me to a point that has really been bothering me lately, and I would love to hear what our listeners think about this. I get that there are privacy acts and we have to protect people and blah, 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 blah. I am infuriated every single time we hear about something like this. We hear about, I don't know, a crime. There was something that happened in Canada not that long ago where basically these big trucking companies, so the 18-wheelers that you see on the road, like they weren't maintaining their vehicles. There was a brake line that was being held on by vice grips. And and when they released the statement and the story, not the driver was not named, the company was not named, nobody was named. It was just like, "Oh, hey, guys, FYI, you're in serious danger when you get on the
Mhm.
major highways because this is what's happening." Why are we always so protective of these psychos?
Yep.
Say their names. Their names should be posted everywhere. I want to know their names. I want to know their addresses. And I know there's this whole song and dance of like, well, we have to protect the victims. And if we give too much information, then the victims will be exposed. I want to know their names.
And here's the thing, we don't know who these other adults were. They could be
Right.
working with children right now. They could have
Who
children
else
that
was
they're doing
involved?
this to. Who the
Yeah.
fuck is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Because,
makes me crazy, Chantal. Like, I'm going
mhm,
insane knowing that there were fucking adults
yeah.
watching this happen for their entertainment,
Yep.
and they haven't been named. And this trial could take years to be ready for them to go. So what? These people who were involved are just out in the world continuing the cycle of abuse, continuing their fucking delusional world of sadistic torture to these children. Give me a fucking break.
I know. I know. I know. And this is the thing. This did not happen in a vacuum. It rarely does. And I know we make up all these excuses like, well, this and that. But even going back to there's so many similarities between this and the Siders family. So I keep going back to it because we know a little bit more about that. But I keep going back to it because I've been seeing online and on Reddit photos of the Siders family, the older ones, just a couple of years ago. They're at parties, they're at events. They were never like high society by any means, but they were out and about. They were in the community. You can't tell me that they didn't have friends. You can't tell me that people didn't maybe not know the extent of it, but they knew shit was going on. They knew there was something not right happening in that house. And they
Mm-hmm.
chose to keep their mouth shut or they chose to get involved. And we have no idea who they are.
It's gross.
Yeah.
It's gross.
We need to hold, and I don't want to make this political because I promised I never would, but we need to hold our governments, whether from a municipal level right up to federal, we need to
Mm-hmm.
hold them accountable when stuff like this comes. And the perpetrators are so protected everywhere you turn. Well, that's protected information. That's redacted. Don't even get me started on the
Oh,
redacted.
redacted.
Like we have to start holding these people, these governments accountable when stuff like this happens. Say their name, release their names. I want to know who went over to that house. I want
Mm-hmm.
to know who participated in the abuse because
Mm-hmm.
rarely, sometimes it happens, but rarely is it just the two parents in that home.
It's not. And here's the
I
thing.
know.
Odds are, and I'm hoping this doesn't happen, they're going to get a deal. These people are going to say, well, yeah, we did go, but we only watched. And they'll, probably testify against the fucking parents and they're going to get off and they're going to be protected because part of the deal is always, I want protection. I want this. I fucking want that. Fuck off. If you knew,
There,
you are as guilty
yeah,
as the people doing it.
yeah. No, honestly, like every system has to do better. There is a woman that I've been following on TikTok, and it breaks my heart every single time I open the app because she's documenting her stalking. Okay. And this man is actively stalking her, okay? Like she posts videos of this guy driving by her house. The one today that I saw, she's filming him and he's in a field behind her house and you can see him moving along. Okay, she got a restraining order, but the police are basically like, "Oh, there's not much we can do cuz he's mentally unstable." Are you kidding me?
Right.
How are we always protecting these people?
It's
How are we
crazy.
sheltering them and letting the innocent victims
Mhm.
suffer? This woman is suffering literally every second of the day, and nobody gives a shit because he's got mental health issues.
Don't fucking
What?
care. I don't fucking
Yeah,
care.
yeah. Nah, guys, we got to do better.
Yeah. So this
We
is
got to do
just
better.
the beginning of this story.
Yeah.
It's not a long one. It's not
No,
glorified.
nope.
I purposely pulled every detail that could possibly hurt these children further out of it because I'm not doing that. I refuse to participate. Yeah, probably would have got more listeners. Don't fucking care.
No, and this is the thing. Um, this podcast is our baby. We have other babies for reals, but like this is our baby and we want it to grow and we want to be able to do this full time and all this shit. And that's fine and good. There are some days like today where,
Mhm.
like you just said, it's not about how many downloads we get. It's not about the listener. It's not about any of that. This is a story that probably isn't going to be picked up by a lot of podcasts or news outlets or whatever outside of the local media because, like you said, it's not salacious.
No. And the ones that have covered it, and I am not, everyone has their own style, everyone has their own, way. But for me, I couldn't do it as a parent, as a woman, as just a human being. I couldn't do it. I had to pull it.
No. Well, you know what? Good for you. I respect that. I think our listeners probably respect that. There are some that we get really deep into and it breaks our heart. If you haven't listened to our case on Tori Stafford, like I had a
Mm,
full breakdown doing that case.
yeah.
It broke me in a million different pieces.
Hmm.
And sometimes we want to do that. We want to come on and we want to be raw and we want to be real and tell you everything. And sometimes we just can't. And we're
Hmm.
never going to force that if we're
No.
not feeling it.
So
Never
that
going to
was
do
that
that.
for today. I'm going to
Well,
add to
thank
it
you,
as we
ma'am.
go.
Yeah, yeah. We can talk about it in the Discord chat.
Discord.
So
Hmm.
again, we have a free Discord. There is
Hmm.
also a paid version, which also gets you ad-free listening and a monthly bonus just for you. But you do not have to join that. You can just come to our Discord. It's free. You're going to meet some community members who are incredible. And that's kind of where we talk after the episode and we dissect things and we don't just talk about true crime, we talk about literally everything. So come join us, check out our social media and our website. Ashley, thank you so much for telling us about this story. I think it needs to be heard. And we hope you have a lovely day. We love you, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Bye
Bye.
bye.